and that was interesting. I was having some serious technical difficulties, I think because of my Wi-Fi. So I'm going to try this from my phone. If you are here and if you're joining me, welcome. I am going to start talking about Hashimoto's in winter, and later I'll figure out why this wasn't working. But welcome. My name is Sara Peternell, and I am the owner of Family Nutrition Services in Denver, Colorado. And I'm also the creator of a 30-day online program for people with Hashimoto's. It's called Nourished and Renewed with Hashimoto's. And I thought I would do something different today, although I guess, as my daughter said, given that this is my premiere, I clearly do not know what I'm doing as far as the technology goes. So bear with me. I want to talk about what I think is actually a really interesting and common subject, which is that in the wintertime, people with Hashimoto's feel worse, often myself included. Although as a person starts to live a more holistic lifestyle and focus on nutrition and the proper supplements, etc., this can all be mitigated. I just posted a new blog post on my website called Thriving with Hashimoto's in Winter, What You Need to Know. And so if you have Hashimoto's and you are here today and you are watching this video, thanks for being here, because it's, here I am in Denver. It's 24 degrees outside and I'm in my office today. But when I first got here, I made a cup of tea and I turned on my space heater because I get cold easily. And I know a lot of my clients that I work with who have Hashimoto's go through a lot of the same things. I mean, the people who know me in my life, my family, my friends, they always know that I'm going to have lots of layers on. And I kind of get, made fun of for that. And I don't really care anymore now that I'm in my 40s. But it certainly has been something I have had to deal with for the entire time since I've been diagnosed with Hashimoto's, which is that I really need to be prepared and strategic in the winter months so that I don't get overly cold and so that I can protect and maintain my health and my immunity and my sanity, so to speak, during these colder months of the year. So I'm excited because this year I actually have heated ski boots. I've had them before, but I had some that didn't work very well, and I got basically top of the line heated ski boots. Our family loves to ski. We live in Colorado. I love to do a lot of outdoor activities, and so this year I have really awesome heated ski boots, and I have brand new, really super duper warm mittens that would be appropriate, say, if I were at like the North Pole, but I'll just be here in Colorado in the 20 and 30 degree weather. And it'll keep me nice and toasty warm. So a lot of people, myself included, as I said, people with Hashimoto's, when they start to feel a chill in the air and they know that a change of season is coming, winter especially, they start to dread it. A lot of people dread this time of year and dread really the holidays and kind of, everything about this time of year, because the days are shorter, darker, colder. There can be also changes in other things like barometric pressure, changes in humidity. If you, depending on where you live, as far as your latitude in the United States, less exposure to UVA and UVB rays of sun. So there's lots of different things that can align to aggravate this condition, to aggravate Hashimoto's. And so you might feel great all year until the winter time comes. That's kind of how I am. I am a warm weather girl, and I love to go to places like Hawaii and Florida and Costa Rica, and I love humidity, but I live in Colorado, which is also pretty great. But I do know that when this time of year starts to come on, I need to be prepared. So if you're brand new to following me here on YouTube, I am board certified in holistic nutrition. And I'm a Hashimoto's expert, and I have Hashimoto's. And Hashimoto's, for those of you who don't know or don't have this condition, this is an autoimmune disorder where the immune system attacks the thyroid gland. Pretty rough stuff for those of us who have it. And your thyroid is located in your neck. This autoimmune process really leaves damage to the tissue of the gland, and it allows the thyroid to not work very well. So one of the major things that the thyroid is responsible for is regulating body temperature, so thermoregulation. It's really important that we have, a properly functioning thyroid. Oops, sorry, I'm getting a little thing on my screen here. A properly functioning thyroid so that we can stay warm when it's cold outside and we can cool off when it's warm outside. And so people who are newly diagnosed with Hashimoto's often have a lot of trouble with regulating their body temperature. And people who are going through flares or maybe through a hormonal stage of life change, such as becoming pregnant, being in the postpartum period, maybe going through perimenopause or menopause, and also for men as they start to get older and maybe experience lower testosterone. Other hormonal imbalances can start to kind of set off a cascade of other changes to thyroid hormone production that can make basically, freezing cold or hot flashes a norm, which can be very frustrating. And so a lot of people that I work with, we spend a lot of time talking about being chilly, having cold fingers and toes when everybody else feels fine and comfortable, or having hot flashes and not being able to cool down and having to step outside when, everybody else is perfectly comfortable indoors, right? So there is a very wide range. And actually, one of the things I want to say is that we used to think that the body's normal body temperature was 98.6, but that's actually not really true anymore. There is a wide range. I think it's more accurate to say that most people kind of run somewhere in those upper 90s. There was actually a recent study that is quite fascinating. The Stanford University School of Medicine did a study on decreasing human body temperature, really over the last 150 to 200 years, and some of the different factors that have played a role in that. So, right now during a pandemic, all of us are used to walking into places and getting our temperatures taken pretty much nonstop with one of those little thermo scan, little thermometer takers. And, if you've ever basically looked at it and said, oh my God, it says I'm, 97.2 degrees, that actually may be your normal. In fact, for most people that I work with who have Hashimoto's, somewhere in the upper, like 96.9, 97.1, 97.2, 97.3 is actually more normal for people who have Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism. The study by Stanford actually found that in America, the modern average temperature has dropped to about 97.5 or 0.6. So this 98.6 thing is a little bit outdated. And the point of all of this really is just that we do experience variances in our body temperature based on a variety of things, whether we're a man or a woman, whether we are younger or older, where we live, our activity, our body composition. So if we are carrying more body fat or if we are carrying more muscle, those things impact our body temperature as well. And of course, the thyroid, how well it's working. And other glands in our body too. So I've already mentioned some of the sex hormones, especially in perimenopause, menopause, pregnancy, and for men who are starting to notice changes in their, say, testosterone levels. But also, what about the adrenals? This plays a big role as well. People who are chronically stressed, people who maybe are either in adrenal fatigue, or people who have been in what they would consider a chronic stress pattern and they're kind of they're revving the engine at a high level, those people might also be experiencing some thermo dysregulation. So I know I'm talking a lot about just the temperature piece, and that's really only one component, but it's probably the most concerning component, and it is a struggle because we all just want to feel comfortable. We don't want to sweat through our clothes or have to wear 18 layers all the time. So the body temperature that I'm talking about with all these different numbers, 95.7, etc., these are the basal body temperatures of what your body should be basically at rest. So also activity can increase this. I'm just kind of going through here some of my notes so I can talk about this, as far as the ways in which really food and lifestyle are going to have the biggest impact on this. So food that we consume, and it does matter the quality and the quantity and the balance of macronutrients. Food provides the raw materials for our bodies to produce energy at the cellular level, and this is called adenosine triphosphate, or ATP. This is energy, basic energy in our body, fuel in our cells. So if you have the wrong kind of fuel, wrong kind of food, you may not be able to produce this type of energy at the cellular level, which can lead to, again, the thyroid issues, or also the thermoregulation issues, and vice versa. So it's kind of a slippery slope, meaning that you may actually have the building blocks of ATP, but if your thyroid's not functioning properly, it may not work very well. So food is this source, and so we'll talk about the different types of food that can really help you thrive in winter. But you do need the support of your properly functioning thyroid gland to properly and accurately trigger ATP to make heat and to help especially get that heat throughout the body, especially the extremities. Cold hands and feet, I think, are one of the first things that people recognize as being an early symptom of hypothyroidism that probably drives them to go to the doctor and be like, my hands and feet are always cold. And they may not know that that's actually part of a health condition. They might just think they're born that way. But when they start to also experience other things like dry skin, constipation, brain fog, hair loss, irritability, maybe loss of menstrual cycle for females, weight gain, so on and so forth, and they really go, okay, hey, this hands and feet thing, maybe this was a sign a long time ago that I actually have some trouble with thermoregulation in my body. So I'm going to kind of come down to what I was hinting at just a moment ago, which is that adrenal dysfunction from stress can lead to system-wide inflammation, which aggravates the thyroid. So another reason why wintertime can be particularly challenging for people who have Hashimoto's is because of the holidays. Whether it's travel to visit family, maybe not in a pandemic year, but traveling to visit people, traveling for the holidays, maybe year-end work projects coming to a close, financial stressors, gift shopping, social events, not to mention all the other things that I just talked about, which are the shorter days, the darker days, the colder days. All of this can really start to aggravate stress patterns in a person's body. And so if a person has Hashimoto's, they may be dealing with compounded adrenal type stuff as well. So the adrenal dysfunction from stress can lead to system-wide inflammation and can aggravate the thyroid and lead to a flare-up. And stress depletes nutrients and leads to nutrient deficiencies. And stress is also made worse because of our lack of sunshine that we, are obviously not getting because of winter. We're just getting fewer hours of the day where we have sunshine to help give us our stores of vitamin D. And so you may have read or heard about studies that correlate vitamin D deficiency with seasonal affective disorder. So seasonal affective disorder, or SAD disorder, is basically wintertime depression because of vitamin D deficiency. Now, it's a lot of things. It's definitely the vitamin deficiency, but it's also the lack of the UVA and UVB rays from the sun, which help to promote other hormones in the body, like helping to support a healthy circadian rhythm, producing melatonin at sleep time, and adequate cortisol at wake-up time. So we can actually just experience not only this disruption in how much vitamin D we have in our body, but also the other hormones that are related to our need for sunlight. So seasonal affective disorder is very real. We know also from research that there is a correlative effect between vitamin D deficiency and people who may have autoimmune illness, including Hashimoto's. So as you can see, all of this is really connected. And because we know that depression is related to vitamin D deficiency, it is not uncommon for people with Hashimoto's to experience mental, emotional, physical depression in their bodies as a whole other set of symptoms before they actually recognize that what they're dealing with is thyroid dysregulation and vitamin D deficiency. And so they might chalk this up just to, the winter blues, suffering with, maybe some emotional stuff from the holidays, but really there's physiological evidence that depression may be driven by these winter circumstances. So you heard me mention, some of the other sets of symptoms that may be related, like dry skin, losing hair. Basically, the research tells us that 100% of people with hypothyroidism experience dry skin in one way or another at one point or another during their illness. And I personally feel like for me, even though my antibodies are in the negligible range and I've been managing my thyroid very, very well for the past, nearly 20 years, winter is when I see the most aggravation of skin symptoms. So I really want to spend a couple of minutes talking about that. The thyroid hormone T3, which is your free and active thyroid hormone, stimulates the growth of cells, and it helps to produce basically what's called keratin, which is, the layer of skin, these skin cells that helps to protect things like cuticles and that derma layer all throughout your body. And so if you are not producing enough T3 or not converting enough of your storage form T4 to T3, especially in the wintertime, you may notice that your skin really starts to suffer. So lower T3 means that skin cells are not replacing these keratin cells with new ones as often, and so rough, dry skin is really the outcome. I know for me personally that when I start to get the little dry edges around my forefinger and my thumb, that winter's on the way, because I can immediately start to tell that the dry skin, even though I live in Colorado and it's dry all year round, that the dry skin is probably more related to some of the other wintertime situations that might be affecting my thyroid. Now, the other thing about people that I work with who have Hashimoto's, and myself in the past, not as much now, thankfully, but people with Hashimoto's are more likely to get colds and flus during the winter time, and that's because the confusion within the immune system, right? I love to call it the wonky immune system, means that basically the immune system is not functioning properly. And so the immune system may not be capable of actually doing what it needs to do to keep you from being vulnerable to pathogens. So there are just a variety of different situations that make winter very tricky. I've talked about, a lot of different things. You can read more on my website, sarapeternell.com, about winter. But the answers that I'm sure you're here at this live streaming for are what to do, which is, again, make sure that you are working very closely with your practitioner, your board certified holistic nutritionist, with your endocrinologist or whoever is managing your medication, to see if you need a medicine tweak when the winter starts to come on. So October, November, maybe if you start to feel early signs of symptoms, this is the time to do it. Also to check your vitamin D levels. You heard me just say how important vitamin D is. You can get vitamin D from foods as well as from the sunshine, but I absolutely recommend probably a minimum of 2,000 IUs, which is international units, of vitamin D3 per day during the winter months, starting probably in about October through April or May, and whatever, wherever you live, to see if you can start getting some more of that natural sunshine after we move back into the warmer months. Our vitamin D stores are usually highest right at the end of the summer, but if you get sick one time, boom, it's gone. So supplementing with vitamin D is really, really important. Food sources would include things like mushrooms. I love shiitake mushrooms. I love to make a lot of broth-based soups that contain these vitamin D-rich mushrooms. Also fish, like salmon, so that's a great thing to include on your winter menu. Cod liver oil can be taken as a supplement, and that can also be really helpful, both for dry skin as well as for a vitamin D store. And also good pasture-raised eggs can also be very helpful. Supplementation, obviously vitamin D, which we just talked about, but also finding ways to help manage stress. So whether it's taking some adaptogens like maybe ashwagandha to help manage stress. Also, you can maybe begin with a very low dose of something like melatonin drops to help with some of the circadian rhythm issues, to help you sleep better. Magnesium for supporting the digestive system and also stress would be very beneficial. And getting some exercise, getting your body to move a bit and to, just help to build that thermoregulation. Remember that you may have some of the raw materials available for that ATP production, but it has nowhere to go to help keep your body warm. And movement is the thing that we need. So hopping on a stationary bike or going for a walk, bundling up and walking around the block. Maybe doing some stretching exercises, maybe doing some at-home online workouts where you can get your heart rate up for 15 or 20 minutes per day. That will also really help to alleviate some of those wintertime symptoms. Also, from a dietary standpoint, I do like to mention herbal teas. I just mentioned that I'm drinking my herbal tea right now. I have a, whoops, I just spilled all over myself. I have a rooibos in my cup today. It's really warming and really grounding. Instead of just drinking cold water all day long, I switch in herbal teas. I love ginger. I love peppermint tea. I love red raspberry leaf tea. I love rooibos tea. I love chamomile tea at bedtime. These are all really great teas that you can incorporate that don't have caffeine, and you can sip on them throughout the day to help keep you feeling your very best in the wintertime. Soups and broths and grounding cooked warm foods are very important. This is not the time of year for salads and cold smoothies. Even cold sandwiches or anything right out of the refrigerator, like leftovers, need to be warmed up or brought up to more of a room temperature, kind of that tepid temperature, because it is true that, we are what we eat. And if we eat something cold or raw, we're going to feel cold and raw inside of our body. So thank you so much for watching today's live stream. I don't see that there are any comments in the chat for me to answer, so I'm just going to leave it here, and this will be recorded and posted as a video for people to watch at a later time. I do appreciate you if you've joined me for today's live streaming video all about thriving with Hashimoto's in winter. And if you've made it this far to the end of the video, please be sure to check out my Hashimoto's winter meal plan that is available on my website. Just go to sarapeternell.com and click on resources and meal plans, and you'll find the winter meal plan there. I'll also put a link to it in the pinned comments below, so you can just click right away on the meal plan, and you can purchase either a 1 week or a 2 week plan to get you started right away with some of the foods that I've been talking about: mushrooms, salmon, eggs, also lots of healthy fats, balanced proteins, warm grounding soups and vegetables with lots of broths, etc. I hope you'll enjoy this winter meal plan. Thanks so much for checking it out. And remember to like, subscribe, and share my videos. I would love to see you back. I will try to do some more live videos, and I will work out my technology kinks for next time. Thanks for being here, and I will see you soon. Bye!